Hello, Fiber Friends. Today I have a traditional podcast episode for you, wrapping up December. So if that sounds like it will be of interest to you, I hope you'll stick around. Hello, knitting friends. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Kristen, and today I'm going to be wrapping up December with my last podcast episode of the year. So we've got a finished object, some whips, some yarn, and an announcement about a knit along for the new year. This will be my last video of 2025. I will be taking a break next week, although you will see a short tutorial pop up related to the pattern and knit along I'm going to be talking about a little later in the video. But this is my last formal video of any kind for 2025. So usually the podcast comes the last Saturday of the month, but we're doing it today because next Saturday I will be taking a much needed vacation after making a magical Christmas for my children and other family. Let's kick things off with a finished object because I have finished my Lilith pullover. This is a test knit for Meghan Babin. This pattern is going to be dropping on Monday, December 21st, and you can check it out a little bit early here. So I will go ahead and pop a little bit of B-roll video in here so you can get a better idea of how this actually looks on me. I am very excited to be wearing it today now that it is done. So this, as I said, was a test knit. This is my second test knit for Meghan Babin this year. I really love her designs, her style, her pattern writing. And this was overall a great experience. So this Lilith pullover is knit with a fingering weight yarn held double with a floofy lace weight. So the yarns that I chose for this project were Knitting for Olive Merino, which is their fingering weight. And then I wanted to minimize the amount of new yarn coming in and money going out for this test knit. So I did some stash diving and I found in my stash 5 balls of Amano Yarns Uma, which is a mohair Surrey alpaca silk blend. So I believe I mentioned in a previous video, in terms of floofy yarns, the mohair silk can be a little prickly depending on the manufacturer, and the Surrey silk can be a little thicker than a lace weight. It can, if you're holding a Surrey silk with a fingering, that can really bump your gauge up. So this is a nice sort of in between because it has both of those fibers. So it's a little bit softer, less prickly than a mohair silk, but it's not as dense, as thick, or as heavy as the Surrey silk. The Knitting for Olive is the purple artichoke, and the Uma is Forbidden City. Let's see if I have some leftovers. So these are the two colors. This is the Knitting for Olive. You can see it's a little warmer. And this is the Uma, a little cooler. And they work together very nicely in this design. A fun story is that this is all I've got left of the 5 balls of merino that I bought. However, I had 5.5 balls of the Uma in my stash. And according to the pattern, I was going to need like 6 balls. And I didn't want to risk it. So I went ahead and bought just 1 ball. And I have 2 balls left over, plus this. So I don't know what the pattern will look like when it comes out, but I did mention to Meghan that I had way more lace weight left over than I should have. But it is lovely, and now I've got enough for, another small project, maybe a hat or cowl or something. So this pattern is a drop shoulder that is worked in pieces, so it is seamed. I know seaming is not everybody's favorite, but especially with a garment like this, knit in a lightweight yarn and knit, as you can see, with these lots of eyelets, it can really give your garment some much needed structure. Now, I'm not going to say I love seaming, I don't, but I don't hate it either. And you can kind of get into a rhythm with it. It's a little bit meditative. So while I wouldn't necessarily seam any project, I am happy to do it for Meghan's sweaters. I think they work out really well. The same as with the last sweater that I test knit for her, which was the tea time sweater. Had I not been testing, I probably would have finagled things a little bit, and instead of knitting the sleeves from the bottom up and sewing them on, I probably would have knit the front and back in pieces and seamed them as directed. But I think I would have picked up along the shoulder line and worked the sleeve down. And my sleeves are too long. So you can see I've got it kind of tucked up here. This grew a lot more with blocking than I thought it would. So I was expecting a fair bit of growth widthwise because of all the eyelets and cables. But I got a lot of growth lengthwise, especially for the sleeves. So my sleeves grew 2 inches in length. And I had knit them to the specified length because I was not expecting that. And here they are. They are definitely too long. And because they're knit from the bottom up and then sewn in, it's a little difficult to adjust them. Don't mind, it's fine. You know, I can, as you can see, I can kind of tuck them up like this. I think it looks cute, but it's, you know, maybe not ideal. So if I don't tuck them up, see if I can't even get them in. So that's how long they are, which is actually fine for a nice cozy winter sweater. I like having longer sleeves, but they are definitely and very obviously too long, which is unfortunate, but it will certainly not stop me from wearing this sweater, which is very comfy cozy. I knit the size 3 based on the recommended ease. I think I could have gone with the size 2. I was really in between, but I decided to opt for the 3, so this would be a little bit more oversized, and it definitely is oversized, but still very comfortable. You know, if it were a very heavy fabric, I think it would be too oversized, but it's nice and light fabric. I will say that it is tending to ride back a little bit, but I think, you know, normally I would wear a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt under my sweaters, and I just have a camisole under this because that's what was clean, basically. I do like to wear a layer under my sweaters. I think I'm going to do a video next year a little bit about sweater care. But in short, wearing a layer under your sweaters reduces the amount of times you need to wash your sweaters, which is better for the sweater fabric. And if I had, you know, something with sleeves here, I think it would hold on a little bit better, and so it wouldn't slide back. It's no big deal, and just pull it back forward, but it is slipping back a little bit because it is oversized. So my experience with this pattern was lovely. It was very clear. I don't think there were any errors in the pattern. You do need to, this is really an advanced pattern, so you have to be able to read cable charts, but more importantly, you have to be able to increase in pattern, which means figure out what is going to come next as your sleeve is growing and as your body is growing. Now, it's basically just 2 columns of things, so it's not that difficult. It's not like a big intricate, you know, 20 stitch cable going back and forth, but it is something you have to keep an eye on, and it's not spelled out for you. So definitely a beginner knitter, that's going to be a little more difficult than someone who has more experience with knitting. She does give you a little chart to show you the increases for the body, but if your row gauge is off, your increases are not going to start on the same row, so it's not going to work for you. And then there's no chart for the increases for the sleeves, and there are a lot of increases for the sleeves. So you really do have to know what you're doing in terms of increasing in pattern and being able to kind of extrapolate from the existing chart. So not really a beginner pattern, but a beautiful sweater that I am very happy with. The yarn is very comfortable. It is fuzzy, but it is not prickly. The drape is lovely. I'm not getting any itch factor at all from this. I love the neckline. So when I first finished, as I said, I had gotten more growth lengthwise than I thought, and this was looking very deep. But after you seam everything up and then after you pick up the collar, it really pulls everything together. So if you are making one of these and finishing and thinking the neckline looks insane, it's probably fine. I will say this it got to be a little much after a while of knitting the same pattern over and over again. So I was excited to get onto just the plain ribbing of the neckline, but I don't think that would have been as much of a problem if I weren't working on a deadline, as you do for test knitting. So overall, great experience, great pattern, love my sweater, love the yarns, think they work so well together. Very excited to now have this for the winter. So again, this pattern is dropping on December 21st. It is going to be available from Meghan Babin or Megos Pearls. And definitely, if you are looking for a cozy, cable lace, floofy, comfy sweater for the winter, it's going to be a good pick. Since I was working to meet that deadline, this is really the major thing that I've been working on over the last month. But let's talk about a couple of whips that I've been throwing in here and there. Mostly this one. So this is my festive yoke pullover. And as you can see, I have a yoke, but that is all I have. And it is currently exactly 1 week until Christmas. Now, the rest of this is mostly stockinette. I mean, it can be whatever you want. You can do all color work for the whole thing. I was not planning to do that. I was planning to do the yoke and then maybe add some color work at the hem. So given that what I have left is mostly stockinette, I could probably really push myself and maybe finish this in time, but I don't want to. I have enough going on with Christmas without trying to drive myself crazy. So I am putting this on hold until the next Christmas season. So this is a pattern by Skein Knits. It is adorable and festive. And I am using for this Knit Picks palette, I'm not 100% sure about the colors, but I want to say Mist. So you can see it's not quite white. It's more like a silver. Pine and maybe Hollyberry, but I'm not 100% sure about that. And these are old balls of yarn that I found in my stash. I don't even know if they make those colors anymore. So I have finished the yoke. So when I pick this back up, I will divide for the sleeves. You can see my last line of little Peeries down here. And basically just have to do some stockinette. As I said, I might put a row of color work around the bottom hem. I really wanted some trees, but I wanted my trees to be green. And so the way that my yoke is set up, my little Peeries in between are green and the main color work motifs are red. Now I know that snowflakes and reindeer are also not red, but they're also not green. So I was okay with that. But trees are green and I just wanted them to be green. So what I may do is at the hem, switch things up and do just one block of red Peeries, green trees, red Peeries, right before the bottom hem. And then maybe something around the cuffs, but I'm not sure. I don't think I want a big motif around the cuffs, but maybe just, little ones. I haven't decided, and I don't have to because I'm not going to kill myself trying to finish this by Christmas. So the pattern calls for a sport weight yarn. It does say you can use fingering weight, but the gauge that she is recommending didn't sound like it would be friendly to fingering weight yarn for me. So what I opted to do was to work the size 4 at a tighter gauge. So hopefully getting a sweater in fingering weight yarn that is more like a size 3. Did I do any math for this? No. I just didn't. Once I get separated for the sleeves, I'll be able to try it on and see how it's looking, and I can make adjustments to the body or the sleeve circumferences if I need to. Relatively easy because that part is in stockinette stitch. But I mean, I'm very happy with it. I think it is adorable and festive. I'm very happy with, I added this row of, I did a contrast color cast on. I'm very happy with the way that looks. I think it would look very dark if we just started with the silver mist color, and I think that helps pull things together a little bit. I like that. Um, so I'm very happy with the sweater, and I think it is looking cute, but I'm not going to have it done for this year. And so it is time to put it on hold because I can't think of anything sadder than working on a Christmas sweater in January. However, I really need to actually remember to get this out in like October or November next year, because here are the Christmas socks I started last year and said, okay, I'm going to put these on hold and then I'm going to pick them up in like October or November. And then I just forgot and didn't do it. These are called the Farmhouse socks or Farmhouse Christmas socks or something like that. I'll put the name in the description box down below. And I love them. They're adorable. But this part here has this nice gingham, which I absolutely love. But you're like wrangling with 3 colors. So you've actually got, it's a little hard to see on camera, but it's a light green, a dark green, and a white. And you're wrangling with the 3 colors over short circumference, and it was getting on my nerves. So I wasn't putting much effort into this last season because it was, again, getting on my nerves. And so obviously I didn't make much progress before the holidays, and I put it on hold, and it's been there ever since. So the yarn I'm using for this is Knit Pick Stroll. Not a clue what the colors are. Obviously, you know, red, 2 greens, and a white. And I love it. It's beautiful. I'm so sad that I'm not going to have these Christmas socks for this year either. Maybe next year. Maybe next year is going to be my color work Christmas year. These, I think, so I put them away and I was like, I'll get them out in October, November. But I think I really need to get these out for like Christmas in July. Because, like I said, wrangling with the 3 different colors over the small circumference with the magic loop, this part is just not fast. And I do like it, and I want to have this gingham leg and foot. But this is a little bit more intensive for a sock than I usually do, and I need to give myself more time for this. I do have the yarn in here, but I don't have the ball bands. Let's see. Okay, Forest Heather is one of the greens, probably the darker one. No, I just have one ball band in there, so it's a mystery to you and me. But that is that's the progress on the color work for this year, which I will do a recap at the beginning of January for 2025. Everything I knit and my goals, and one of them was to do more color work. I mean, I did. I just didn't finish anything. And then one other Christmas project that I think I can reasonably expect to finish by Christmas is this sock. So I already have the first sock done. This is the second sock. This is some self-striping Christmas yarn that I got from, I don't know. It's discontinued, whatever it is. It's called Post Yarn, Poste. And I don't remember who manufactured it, but it's discontinued. I think it was maybe Simply Socks Yarn Company or something. So I've had this in my stash for a while. This is definitely not a merino, but I don't know what it is. It's feeling a little bit toothy, so maybe like a BFL. And yeah, so I've already done the first sock. I've already turned the heel on the second sock. I think I can knit a sock leg and cuff, hopefully in the next week, and have one finished Christmas project. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about these. They're just a plain vanilla sock. I use my own basic vanilla sock recipe, which I will link in the description box. And the only other thing is that I worked the first sock cuff down, and then just to mix things up, did the second one toe up. Toe up is my preference for socks, generally speaking, but sometimes I like to mix things up. And if you deal with a lot of second sock syndrome, shifting the way you have knit the sock can help with that a little bit. So one possible Christmas project maybe that might get finished. And then I have one more whip that I've actively been working on, but also just started. So with all of the color work for the festive yoke and all of the cabling and lace for this, I really needed just a simple project. And I've got a lot of hoods in my queue. So the one I really want to knit the most is the Harris hood, but it is a more complicated project. It has a folded brim and more shaping, and I needed something just really simple and in a heavier yarn. So this is going to lead us a little bit into yarn acquisitions. And that is that I have, that's not it, but I have started I don't know how to pronounce it, but we're going to go with Joe's hood. So this is a pattern by Norgard Knitters. They also have one called My Flow Hood that is on my list, but this one is basically all garter stitch and then some I-cord trim. So that was exactly what I needed. Garter stitch, worked flat, very simple. And as you can see, I haven't gone far. So this is like the top of the of the hood. And then the next step is to pick up around it, probably to kind of shape back and sides, and then it transitions into a scarf wrap kind of deal. But it is all over garter stitch and very easy, especially at this point because I'm just knitting a square of garter stitch. I don't have a whole lot of comments on it so far because I haven't done much. I haven't gotten to any of the shaping or the picking up stitches or the anything. All I've done is cast on, and I will tell you, I did not check my gauge because it's a hood. It just doesn't seem necessary. Um, so it called for US 8. I just used a US 8. I eyeballed it on the needle and said, yeah, sure. I mean, again, it's a hood. It doesn't, the chances of my gauge being so off that it would either be atrociously big or way too small is pretty slim. Like if you were a new knitter and you just had no idea generally what your gauge is on different needles, maybe. But I've been knitting for almost 20 years, so I can say, oh, an Aran weight yarn and a US 8 needles are supposed to be this. Yeah, we'll be somewhere around there. And since it's not a garment, it doesn't matter super a lot. So yeah, I have not done a whole lot on this, but it has been just the kind of completely mindless, let me just work a few plain rows and reset project so far. And I am knitting it with some new yarn. So let's start talking about some acquisitions. It is the holiday season, so I'm not really shopping for myself a lot. But last month, Katya, the yarn company, sent me an email and offered to let me try some of their fall yarns. And I said, absolutely. I love yarn. So they sent me a box with 2 beautiful yarns to try. And hello. Oops, sorry. Is it poly time? Is it poly time? Yeah. Do you think I'm talking to you? I'm not, though. But you're welcome to hang out here. Yeah. Hi. So Katya sent me a lovely box full of yarn, and one of them I am using for the My Joe's. I still want to say Jose. I'm not talking to you. I know you think I am. My Joe's hood, and that is this one. So this is their Supreme Merino. This is a Aran to bulky weight blend of 45% wool, 45% acrylic, and 10% alpaca. Now, if you have been here for a while, you know I'm not a huge fan of acrylic yarn. However, I don't mind sometimes a blend, generally speaking, to use for outerwear. And it can be a way to get a lower price point on a yarn that is otherwise, with merino and alpaca, would be at a higher price point. This Supreme Merino is a mulesing-free merino wool. And this color is, I don't know, it just says color 100. So I guess it does not have a color name. That is fine. So the recommended gauge on this is 15 stitches and 20 rows on a US 9 to 10 needle, which is going to be definitely in the Aran to bulky weight category, and it is a single ply. So this is not something we're going to be using if we want a ton of stitch definition. Plus with the alpaca, it is a bit fuzzy, but I think it is a good choice for the My Joe's hood, which is all over garter stitch, and that little fuzz really gives it a nice texture. I'm getting so distracted by the cat. She doesn't sit on my lap that much. Like she'll jump up and get a few pets and then jump down, but she is sitting here today. So obviously you saw I had not made a whole lot of progress with my hood. So I don't have a whole lot to say about how the yarn wears yet. I do expect it to be a bit pilly because this is an unplied yarn, but we will just have to wait and see. So this is not, my usual first choice of yarn with a lot of acrylic in it, but I wanted to be able to give it a shot. And, I know that while acrylic yarns are not my personal favorite, there are a lot of fans of them. They do serve some purposes, and they generally speaking are less expensive. So I thought it'd be good to be able to try one out, see how it wears, give some feedback on it, and hopefully be able to recommend it for people who are looking for yarns at a lower price point or using acrylic blends for whatever reason. This one is a bit of an experiment, but this other one I am very excited about. This is a Katya concept yarn. Some of their yarns are called concept and I don't know why. And this is a pure organic wool that is chlorine free. And as you can see, I got it in this beautiful pure white color. So this one again is, Katya says worsted weight. I say Aran to bulky weight. So the recommended needle size is, again, a US 10 or 10 and a half. So that definitely, I think, puts it up into the bulky range. However, it is 50 grams, 120 yards, which is more like worsted. So I don't know what to say about that. This is, if you saw my previous video, it looks like it's maybe a chainette construction. And it is very lofty and airy. And while I have not cast anything on yet, I did do a swatch with this. So this is how that knits up. This is on a US 10. This is not blocked, however. So I do think it'll bloom up a little bit and make that US 10 probably a good choice for this. So it's looking a little, uneven and a bit holy now, but I think with blocking, the yarn is going to bloom. It's going to fill in some of those spaces. But this yarn has a lot of stretch, a lot of give, but it is very light and airy and has a little bit of a, like a rustic look, like it's not 100% even tension. So I'm really excited to be working with this one. I have a project picked out for this, so if you watched my previous video on my top patterns of the year, you will have seen this. That is the Cozy Cottage Cardi. I don't actually think I have enough yarn for that, but this was gifted to me, so certainly I can invest in a little bit more, another 2 or 3 balls if necessary to complete that project. But it does call for, I want to say, like 200 more yards than I have. So we'll see. That is a project that I am planning to cast on at the beginning of 2026. Oh my gosh, I don't care for that. As a cozy, chunky winter cardigan in just this beautiful snowy white color, which is apparently the color of the year. It just says virgin wool. It does not say anything about the provenance of the wool. It does not say superwash. However, it does say machine washable on a wool cycle. So whatever that means. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to trying this one out a little bit more than a swatch. I don't know that I've used a chainette construction yarn before, or at least no time in my recent memory. I think it's going to be really cute for that cardigan. It's so soft. It really is like amazingly soft. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And this one is a little bit more of an experiment. It is certainly soft, feels nice. It has some nice halo. And I'm a little concerned about how it is going to wear, but we will find out because I have at least started a hood project with it. So those are the new yarns that I invited into my home this month. So I do actually have one more finished object, but this is more in the knit design category because we are going to be talking about a new pattern that I have and a knit along for the new year. So today I am recording this on Thursday, December 18th. And on Monday, apparently it's December 22nd. Yeah. I am going to be releasing a free pattern exclusively for my newsletter subscribers. So when you subscribe to my newsletter, you get a free pattern. It is this one. This will be a bonus free pattern for everybody who is currently subscribed to my newsletter. And it will be going out on Monday, the 22nd. As of January 1st, 2026, this new pattern will be the pattern that you get when you sign up for my newsletter, and it will be the only way to get this pattern moving forward. So I showed you guys this hat last time, and now I have a second one. This pattern is called Finnanigans. It is named after my cat, Finnegan. That is what we call his mischief, his Finnanigans. And it is a reversible hat worked in shaker rib. So one side looks like this, with these kind of little, it's getting blown out a little bit, but these kind of little squatty stitches. And then the inside is this nice fisherman's rib. So you can see much smoother, neater stitches on the opposite side. But it is knit in such a way that you can wear it with either side facing out. So the new sample I have for this is, so this one is, the original sample is the Farmer's Daughter Fibers Craggy Tweed, which is a DK weight yarn, and I have done a color blocked version. This one is done with a fingering weight yarn held double. This is Soft and Cozy Sock from Cozy Posy Yarn Co. And this particular color is one that I got from her advent calendar a couple years ago. And so I am holding it double with itself for this version of the hat. You can see that this one is more of a beanie style. So just kind of traditional beanie. I messed my hair all up. And this one is more of a Nomi style hat. So the pattern includes instructions for both, whether you prefer your hats pointy or beanie style. And it includes 5 sizes, and it is going out to my newsletter subscribers for free. So if you are watching this on December 20th or 21st, and you sign up for my newsletter now, you will get the regular free pattern, and then you will get this one on Monday. If you are interested in this pattern and it is already past December 22nd, you should wait until January 1st and then sign up for my newsletter. And then you will get this pattern and it will be free. And then you can join us for our knit along in the new year. So beginning January 1st, I'm going to be hosting a knit along for this pattern. This is just, a simple, easy, selfish hat knit along. We have all been busy in December making and buying and baking and wrapping and plus all of the regular stuff that we do. And in January, we need a break. So we're just going to have a simple, casual knit along for a free hat pattern. You don't need to have a ton of advanced knitting skills to work this hat. There are tutorials included in the pattern for the shaker rib, but it is actually very easy to work. So really no advanced skills needed. I have used a tubular cast on, and I think it looks really nice. I really like it, but it is completely optional, so you don't need to do that if you don't want to. And all you need for this is somewhere between 200 and 300 yards of a DK weight yarn, or double that amount of a fingering weight yarn to be held double. I hope you will join me for the knit along. More information will be included with the newsletter when this free pattern goes out. So again, if it's the 20th or 21st, make sure you go ahead and sign up for my newsletter now so you will get the 2 free patterns. But if the 22nd has already passed, and I usually send the newsletter out in the morning Eastern time, you can wait until January 1st sign up for the newsletter, you'll still get the pattern for free and can still join the knit along. That is the knit design that I have this month. New hat pattern, free for newsletter subscribers. I do have more designs coming in the new year. I will have a sweater kind of bright and early in January. I will have socks in February. There's going to be a slip over coming in the spring. So definitely more stuff to come. But that is our pattern drop for this month, and hopefully some exciting news about a knit along for the new year that I hope you'll join. All right, friends, that is everything I have for you in this episode. As I said, I will be on vacation next week, December 27th. A well-deserved, I think, break after the busy holiday season, and I will be back in January. The first Saturday of January is the 3rd. With my 2025 wrap up. So, everything I knit in 2025 and how I did meeting my 2025 knitting goals. Not well. Thank you again for joining me for this episode. Everything that I have talked about will be linked in the description box down below. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter so you can get that free pattern on Monday, December 22nd. If you enjoyed this episode, found it entertaining or useful, I hope you will give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. New knitting videos here every Saturday, except next Saturday. Thank you again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, whatever you celebrate, and I will see you in the new year.